Hello there, welcome to the channel. This is Nerd.World, and today we have a request for the Gloriana Class battle barge in the 40k universe. This monstrous titan of a starship led the way for the Holy Crusade to reunify the human race under the Holy Emperor and his Imperium of Man. Before we get started, please like, share, subscribe and comment down below on anything else about the 40k universe or anything else in any sci-fi universe that you're interested in, that if I have time I can add it to my list and we'll have a discussion about it, all the lore, all the facts and whatever else I can think of to try and hopefully entertain someone somewhere. With all that said, let's get started on the Gloriana Class battle barge. The Gloriana Class battleship used by the Imperium was one of the largest vessels ever produced by the Imperium of Man. At least 20 were known to have been produced, one for each of the Primarchs and their chapters. No two of these vessels were actually completely identical, with them wildly varying in size, but their basic function and purpose as the flagship of each individual Primarch is what really lent itself to them being the Gloriana class. They were built for a purpose, to be the flagship, to be the monstrous beast of a vessel that would be the heart of a gigantic war fleet built in the early days of the Imperium. The largest and probably most famous of these vessels is the Macragge's Honor, coming in at a modest 26 kilometers in length. Like all things in 40k, it's big and really big. And just to put it in perspective, this is the vessel when put next to another ridiculously large vessel from another science fiction franchise, the Imperial Star Destroyer, with the, of course, Imperial Star Destroyer measuring in at 1.6 kilometers in length, with the Gloriana class considerably more than that at the larger one, and with Macragge's Honor at 26 kilometers, as I stated. This is almost no contest in size. Almost nothing in the Star Wars galaxy or most other sci-fi franchises comes close. That's not saying there's nothing. There's the Death Star, obviously, but this vessel is monumentally huge, and there was one of these for each of the Astartes chapters. Now imagine you were some Xenos scum thinking you can encroach on a what you think is the defenseless human world, and you see one of these descending out of hell space upon you. I don't know, I'd crap my towel pants and run on home. It's a monstrous vessel, absolutely behemoth of a starship, and like all Imperial vessels, I actually really love it. The gothic aesthetic of the Imperial designs is a thing of beauty. It's something to behold. And the Gloriana class is one of the largest vessels ever produced by mankind in the era of the Imperium of Man. Now, of course, these vessels were produced in the early days of the young Imperium and were used to bring many recently rediscovered human worlds into compliance with the new regime, the Imperium of Man. Later, these vessels, though, would be pitted against other Xenos species, to which, of course, they acquitted themselves extraordinarily well. With their immense size and huge firepower, not to mention massive numbers of embarked Space Marines and possibly other troops on board these vessels occasionally, these ships were a battle wagon upon themselves, able to lay waste to entire Xenos fleets practically on their own. In addition to that, they would be used heavily during the Horus Heresy on both sides, because of course you had the traitor legions as well as the loyal Legioni Astartes units that remained loyal to the Imperium of Man. These two opposing forces would basically go at each other, and many of these ships would unfortunately be lost in that conflict. That, combined with the vast amount of resources and lives lost during that war, the Imperium would find its resources stretched to the point that the shipyards at Mars were no longer able to produce such massive investments of resources such as the Gloriana class starships, plus the Imperium being the Imperium. Eventually they kind of forgot how to build them anyway. By the end, there was only a handful of these vessels left, which included the Vengeful Spirit, Invincible Reason, Conqueror, and of course the Macragge's Honour of the Ultramarines under Rabute Guilliman, this being the largest and most heavily armed and most powerful. These vessels being what they are, they of course were, as I said, extraordinarily heavily armed, but they also had amongst the thickest armour in the Imperium, as well as multiple overlapping layers of void shields, meaning these vessels could both endure massive amounts of physical trauma to the vessel's hull, as well as getting to the hull in the first place was no easy feat, considering the sheer strength and a number of the shields that this vessel had. So there we have the Gloriana class. Of course, there are many of these vessels with their own unique stories, but I'm not going into them. This is a brief overview. I'm not going into the individual stories or lore of every individual ship. I may do in future videos, but if I start down that route now, I will obsessively need to complete that, and it'll stop me doing the other video lists I'm currently doing. So there we have, as I said, the Gloriana class battle barge of the various Legionia Astartes. If you're a Warhammer fan, tell me what you think about them. Tell me anything I've missed, because I haven't actually done Warhammer in a while, and I feel like I'm missing something. I actually had to look up some details of these ships, because I'd kind of forgotten, I think, more than I realised. So let me know in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and if you made it all the way to the end of the video, thank you, and bye bye.